Well, thank you. When they initially asked me to do this, they said, oh, would you mind doing a 20-minute presentation? Maybe about 15 people will come and see it. We had 78 registered yesterday. So sorry if you couldn't get in yesterday. This is why we're repeating it today. So I guess backed by popular demand. So blueprints. So I thought I'd talk to you today about blueprints, what's kind of going on with them in Jamf Pro and Jamf School, and a bit about, I guess, I zoom out on the microscope as to how they're being built and how they're working. So it's hard to see with these lights. Does everyone use Jamf Pro in here? Oh, great, okay, cool. Basically everyone, fine. That makes it easier. So in your head, think about blueprints. Now stop. So blueprints in Jamf Pro and Jamf School are very different to what you know. When you think about blueprints, you've probably got a preconceived notion. Has anyone had to go with Jamf Now before? Or SMB product? A couple people. Has anyone used a similar MDM solution that's kind of relied on blueprints before?
Yes.
Okay. So what I thought I'd do is kind of take you through a bit of a journey of where blueprints have been and what they were, and kind of where we're taking them. So if we have a look at blueprints of the past, we'll call them. So I'm a new admin. I'm setting up Jamf Now. That's the example I'll use. Historically, blueprints have been very rigid. You kind of build out your blueprint, you add your devices to it. So here we go. This is my new super great blueprint. I'm going to make this for my Mac. So we're going to add some config. We're going to add some apps, maybe from app installers, from VPP. We've got a Wi-Fi network that we're adding there as well. Cool. But we also need one for our iOS devices. So we're going to add the config for that. Maybe obviously change some of those apps out because you're not going to want to run certain apps, or you're going to have different selection of apps for those devices. And again, we're going to keep that Wi-Fi network in there. So cool, we're good to go. So let's start enrolling our devices. So here we go, we've got some Macs and we've got some iPhones enrolled. Everyone's happy for the most part. Things are working well, but the company's growing. And everyone's always going to have that one user, Mr. CEO, Mr. Engineer, that can't do their job or insist they can't do their job because they don't have access because of restriction or they need a new app. Great, so let's solve that problem. So we're going to create another blueprint. And these are exactly the same, except for that one change. And then we move that device. And you can kind of see how this is going. Now, I wanted this to like magically duplicate and then we all of a sudden have hundreds. My Keynote skills aren't that good, so just pretend that happened. But you can see how this starts to become less than scalable, shall we say. If you've got, say, a handful of devices, this is fine. But as you start getting dozens, hundreds, or even thousands of devices, this is a lot to manage. If you ever change your Wi-Fi network, you might have 50 blueprints that you have to change those Wi-Fi details in. It's not scalable. So let's get rid of that. And let's have a look at the blueprints of today. So we're going to kind of break free of that monolithic blueprint mold, and we're going to break them down a little bit into more bite-sized chunks. So let's start with a company baseline blueprint. Maybe we'll add a certain passcode policy. All iPhones, Macs, whatever device needs 6-digit passcodes. They all have the same software update settings because we're doing Cyber Essentials. We all have the same Wi-Fi network. A few basic settings. Came along a bit early, but here's an engineering blueprint. So maybe we've got a handful of engineers that have different restrictions, maybe different security policies, different config, app configs, whatever they need. And then we've had a third group just for the example, and we'll call those executive devices again. Different restrictions, different configs, whatever they need. So how do we get these blueprints to devices? If we're not adding a device to a blueprint, what's the other way to do it? So if we kind of flip it on its head, and we can assign blueprints to devices. And what's everyone's favorite feature of Jamf Pro? Smart groups. So we're going to now scope these blueprints to smart groups, and you can kind of see where we're going with this. So you can actually start essentially stacking blueprints. So we become stackable. These devices break free of their monolithic blueprint, like this. And we start stacking blueprints. And because we're using smart groups for this, this is dynamic. So if you've got one of your users that decides they want a different career and they move from sales to engineering, as soon as their device group updates, they get the new blueprints and automatically reconfigures. What you know and love in Jamf Pro in blueprints. So, in a quick summary, what are blueprints in Jamf Pro? I think it's a bit washed out. There are boxes around there. That just threw me off for a second. So this is going to be primarily built on declarative device management. Everyone familiar with the concept of DDM and the kind of the differences between imperative? I'll get to it a little bit, don't worry. This enables a quicker out-of-the-box experience. So again, people who use Jamf Pro, a lot of the time, if you've got experience with it, you love the fact that you can do one thing in 6 different ways. For a new user, might be a little intimidating. And it's something people have used against us before, which might be a bit exaggerated, but it's sometimes a bit fair. If you've got a new user that's new to managing devices, they don't know which of those 6 ways is the best way to do something. So this kind of breaks that barrier and makes it a little bit easier to get going. So it is available today in Jamf Pro. It is currently in public beta for Jamf School for those users. Blueprints in Jamf Pro are not monolithic, so we're breaking free of adding the devices to those blueprints, and we're kind of flipping it on its head. There was a question yesterday, and this kind of answers that question if you've got it in your head. This is not replacing config profiles or policies. This is another tool for your arsenal. And we're not restricting these to a single platform either. So that company baseline you saw, again, we deployed that to Macs, iPhones, iPads, Vision OS, whatever else you want to, without having to create a separate blueprint for each one of those. So if the declarations are universal, or it will apply to the devices it's applicable to. So again, policies, this is kind of a great bit of secret sauce of Jamf Pro. This is for macOS only. This uses the Jamf binary, and this is what is used to run things like policies, scripts, package installation, user management. Again, anything above and beyond the standard MDM framework. Config profiles, this works across all Apple platforms. So this is the platform that Apple sort of give it to us to allow us to build out Jamf, and all the other vendors allowed to build out their MDM products, losing my words. And this uses the Apple Push Notification Service, or APNS. So, and this is kind of mostly what's called imperative device management versus declarative. So the way this works is we say, hey, Mr. Apple, can you go and ask Billy Bob's phone to check in? We've got something for it to do. Billy Bob's phone comes to us, and we say, here's a new config profile. Then we go, Apple, is it done yet? Is it done yet? Is it done yet? It's a lot of back and forth chat, and we're kind of prompting the device to say, are you done yet? When it is done, it gives us all of the inventory data. We have to pass it all out, update the inventory. With DDM, which is what Blueprints is going to be primarily using, it uses the same technology of APNS, but it's also using status channels, which is unique to DDM. So we can say, hey, Apple, can you go and ask Billy Bob's phone to check in? We've got things for it to do. And we can say, here's your declarations. We want you to do this, 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 and this. Tell us when you're done. So the phone or the device can be proactive and say, yeah, I'm on 18.5 now. Here's my new build version, and here's that. We don't need to know every single detail and pass it and be like, yeah, has this changed, has this not? The device is saying, this is my new software, this is my new status, I'm all done. And that's called status channels. Now, what status channels are really good, if anyone's using conditional access at all, or has used it in the past, there's a really good example is if you've got conditional access policies, maybe you need people to be on 18.5, and Billy Bob is still on 18.4, tries to get into Outlook, and he says, no, you don't meet the requirements. If he updates his phone, with imperative management, we basically have to kind of wait for that inventory to come to us, versus DDM, it's now saying, I've updated, I'm on 18.5, so the next time it signs in, if he takes just 1 second after his phone's updated, we know, and he can get in. So it's much more efficient. But how are we going to do this? Well, we're using a new service or new platform called Microservices. So for the past 3 or 4 years, the development team at Jamf have been quite busy at work building all of this out. And it's going to be the basis for a lot of new features and a lot of new tools you'll start seeing coming from Jamf. So again, it's a whole new platform. It enables a lot of new service possibilities, and it enables us to be able to add features or add updates without waiting for point updates. So we don't have to wait for Jamf Pro 11.17, for example, to make a single change. We'll be able to push it via these microservices to have it with you much quicker. It will be able to create more universal experiences. So we don't have to have a team that's developing, say, I'll use app installers for an example. It was developed for Jamf Pro, then a separate team did it for Jamf School, and a separate team did it for Jamf Now. So that's 3 separate teams developing the same feature, all in a different way for 3 different products. Not the most efficient, right? So microservices will allow the development teams to make the feature once, to essentially be a puzzle piece into all the products. My fancy animations there. So blueprints and compliance benchmarks are just the beginning of this. You'll see a lot more coming out on this. So if anyone's tried using this yet, we will address the elephant in the room, and that's the requirement for Jamf account SSO. So I thought, when I was making this, I thought, we'll take a step back, we'll kind of look at the why we've had to do this, because I think it got a little bit lost in translation sometimes, and why we're requiring account SSO to do this. So microservices are built independently of the product itself, which is how we're going to make it compatible with all our products. So, for example, blueprints in Jamf Pro and Jamf School will be the same. So when you log into Jamf Pro, you might have been using a local account. So your user account was essentially sandboxed into Jamf Pro or Jamf School. Because these accounts sit separately, we need a way to authenticate with them. So even if you had your Entra or Okta or Google IDP tied into Jamf Pro, it's still kind of sandboxed within Jamf Pro. That authentication is not happening anywhere else. So what we've done is we've essentially moved that single sign-on out into Jamf account and added the option to use your Jamf ID as that SSO authentication. And what that does is when you then use your Jamf account or your Jamf ID to do that single sign-on, it not only authenticates with the product, but also with the microservices and allows the services to essentially tie in and authenticate together with the product. Again, my super technical drawing there. Does that kind of make sense? Cool. But what that allows is it allows experiences like this. So whereas before there was maybe not a lot of cohesion between certain products, what you should have seen recently and going forward is a lot more of a similar UI and a similar experience between products. The top is Jamf Pro, the bottom is Jamf School. It's kind of getting hard to tell the difference, so we can create that really seamless, unified experience for everyone. So I thought I would show you blueprints if you haven't seen them already. Has anyone had a go with blueprints already? One person, cool. So this will be fairly new for most people then. Cool. Is everyone see it at the back? Is that cool? Alrighty. So this is Jamf Pro. Obviously, you're probably quite familiar with this. Down the side, you've got a whole new blueprint section. And I really, really like the way this has been designed. Again, it kind of, if I go back to where I was saying that previously people have kind of used the power of Jamf Pro against us, this is kind of a way of saying, well, look, we can make it nice and easy, and we can make it really pretty while also keeping it powerful. So this is where your templates will live. We will have more templates in here. These are all, again, declarative device management, and we will be very quickly adding more to this. I'll create a blueprint from scratch. We'll just call it Magaduck. And then we can just start adding declarations. So I can either drag and drop them, if you like doing it that way, and then we can go in and we can configure the math settings. We can also just straight click on a declaration and start setting it this way. Maybe we'll set that and hit add. And then we just scope it to a smart group. So I'll just say, well, let's put it on that group. And quite simply, deploy. Then any of those devices in those groups will automatically, or will have those declarations pushed straight to them. It is that simple. What you can also do is very quickly edit these as well. So we can either just edit, obviously, the name of it. We can come in and add more groups or take groups out of the scoping, and just quickly make changes and deploy them just like that. So whereas before you would previously have had to maybe create some config profiles in there, maybe one for macOS, maybe one for iOS, then start scoping them and doing all that, you can see in just the space of a few seconds, we've taken all of those settings and basically just deployed them really, really quickly. Look good? Cool. So, bonus feature. And this is something I do really recommend you start looking into, is Jamf DDM Explorer. So this is launched alongside of it. I will have a link to where you can download this. But what Jamf DDM Explorer is, this links in directly to Apple's GitHub, their repo for declarations. And what's really cool is when it's available, you can actually link into their beta repo, or the beta branch. So after DubDub this year, if you want to start testing alongside your Appleseed for IT, which obviously you should be doing, and you want to test some of the new declarations, in a future update, you'll be actually able to take those beta, or all of these declarations that are in here, and create custom blueprints to upload into Jamf Pro or Jamf School. So you won't even have to wait for us to add them. You'll be able to take them and upload them yourself. But if we go into a declaration, this will show you basically everything that's configurable. You can make the changes you need. You can see the keys and send them straight into Jamf Pro. And again, this is updating live straight from Apple's GitHub. So this is about as up to date as you can get. Cool. So I can skip my backup emergency video, go straight to that. So that QR code will take you to concepts.jamf.com, where you can download DDM Explorer. It is free, obviously. It's in the Mac App Store. Lots of other cool little projects on Concepts as well. So what's next for blueprints? Oh, did I skip too quick for you? There you go. Cool. So what's next for blueprints? Well, this is very quickly being built out based on your feedback. So we are waiting and we are looking at your feedback. One of the bigger requests is things like legacy profiles. So being able to add some more legacy config to these, just to, again, take away some of that work on building out config profiles. That will be hopefully in there very soon on the horizon. More declarations. Again, we will be able to update blueprints without having to wait for a point version of Jamf Pro. You're not going to have to wait for 11.18.19.20 or whatever to get a declaration. We will be able to add them in very quickly. And as you just saw with DDM Explorer, custom blueprints as well. So being able to take them straight from DDM Explorer, even ones that aren't in blueprints, and upload them. So this is what legacy profiles will look like. So again, very similar UI. You'll be able to get in. This is restrictions. You can see, again, we're not going to restrict it to a platform. This is all the platforms it will affect. So even with legacy config, you'll be able to deploy these to all platforms at once as well. One of the bigger requests, software update settings. So obviously in Jamf Pro, you have got the ability to initiate DDM software updates straight from the UI. This software update pane you're seeing here is more the declarations to enforce, so you have to do it within 14 days, replacing some of those older imperative ones as well. But again, we will be adding many more declarations as we go forward as well. But we need you to tell us what you want. And the best way to do that is ideas.jamf.com. Feature requests, especially around these sorts of features, they are watching them and they are very quickly sort of taking those ideas, seeing what we want, and building them out. So please do tell us what you want. So yeah, that was a quick overview of blueprints. Are there any questions at all? Oh, a few actually. You don't count AMP.
Well, can I just say one thing then? Just one thing. It's less of a question anyway. It's also GA in Jamf School as well now.
Oh, there you go. GA and Jamf School. Perfect. Question back there.
You can deploy one blueprint to 7 smartphones, is that right?
Yes, yeah.
How do you know what's being delivered and when? Is there any feedback in dashboards?
So you'll be able to see it on the device. Obviously, you'll be able to see in the device inventory as well. There is ongoing work to kind of build out the visibility a bit more within Blueprints itself. Again, these are all features that people have been requesting. They're kind of looking at the most requested. But yes, visibility is a big request, and it is being actively built out. I did forget to mention as well, even though you can stack blueprints, best practice is to avoid conflicting config. As with config profiles now, that's kind of the best practice. Declarations are a little easier because contextually, I forget Apple's exact wording, based on context, the structured declaration should win, but in those undefined circumstances, it becomes that 50-50, much like imperative. So avoid overlapping if possible. Stricter should win, but it's best to be safe. Any more questions? Right.
How does it work when you have multiple sites in your instance?
When you haven't got?
When you have multiple sites.
Oh, multiple sites. Probably very much like it does now. So you very much like your config profiles are separated. You'll have a separate set of blueprints and declarations as well.
Because in the demo, I didn't see any site
option? Does it,
Oh, no, I see what you're saying, actually.
yeah, does it collect all the smart groups and all the static groups in multiple sites and let it choose?
Rob, keep me honest here, but I'm going to say that it will show the smart groups within the site that you're currently working in. Do you have a better answer than
To be
that?
honest with you, I don't know, because sites is a very, if you look at where's the history of sites, how do I phrase this? How about we talk about this later? No, but yeah, the way sites work, there's certain objects within Jamf Pro that are a citable object, but things like packages and stuff not. Blueprints as a microservice doesn't exist in Jamf Pro. It's working together with some APIs that are beyond the interface of sites. So I'm not sure if it does work with sites, because I've been burned by sites so much I don't use sites. So I would say we have to test that. It's a very good question, and I don't know the answer. We need to test.
You're the first one that's asked, do you actively use sites? Okay. Fine. We'll figure it out for you.
We can collect your details and we can follow up.
Yeah.
I can say
Diplomat.
that for Jamf School, location is kind of like an equivalent sort of to sites, and we can see smart groups across all locations there. So it's possible you could see groups across all sites, but like you said, we probably have to get back to you on it.
Yeah, I haven't tested it personally, so. Good question, though. Stumped us. Any more? It's hard to see with the lights, actually. Okay, no, cool. Well, I hope that was useful. I hope you give Blueprints a go, and I look forward to seeing your feedback on ideas.jamf.com with what you want to see in it. Thank you.